Hi everyone, Alexandra Jarrett, Jupiter Returns, here with your weekly astrology forecast for the week of the 22nd to the 28th of February 2021. I hope you're all well. I hope you've had a beautiful weekend. I'm really excited about this week. It's a really, really delightful energy. We're moving into, we've got a fair bit going on throughout the week. And we come to sort of this pinnacle at the end of the week with the Virgo full moon. So just to give you some idea of the backdrop, essentially for those that are new to my channel, or as a reminder for those who aren't, the best way that you can engage with my forecast is to try, if you can, just to listen to the whole thing as one solid piece. That's going to give you the idea of how the energies kind of combine with each other and work as we go through the week. Then I'll be time stamping each day. So listen to, if that doesn't appeal to you, listen at least to this part, the introduction, and then you can listen to each day in turn. And that works either in isolation from listening to the whole thing or just as a kind of a daily reminder of which part of it we're kind of engaging with. It just helps if it's broken down, I feel, because my forecasts are, for some people, a little bit long. I like to do as much service as I can in my very position that I feel is a great honor to me of being an astrologer and being this interpreter of our cosmic energies and how they might influence us. And that's not something that I feel should be taken lightly. I don't feel, I mean, you know, not super seriously, obviously, it's me. But, you know, it's something that should be given the respect and honor that it's worth. And so my astrology forecasts are a little bit longer. So I break it down this way to try and make it easy. So without further ado, let's go into where we are. We now find ourselves excitingly in Pisces season. We have the sun now in Pisces. This is the 12th sign of the zodiac, so it represents bringing things to a close. It's the culmination point of the solar year. The solar year starts at the vernal equinox, which is when sun moves into the sign of Aries, so we know that that's just a few weeks round the corner. So the best way to engage with Pisces energy is to go within, to contemplate, to meditate, to make meaning of the previous 11 months experience that we've had. If we look back on this last natural year, not the calendar year, the natural astrological year that we've had, you know, this time last year, we were just on the verge here in the UK of going into lockdown for the very first time. And here we find ourselves just on the verge of coming out of lockdown, hopefully for the last time. So it's a really interesting kind of bookending. And that's essentially the way to kind of look at Pisces is really this kind of like, okay, how do we take stock, make meaning from the experiences that we've gone through to validate them. It's a really healthy thing to do, is to validate our experiences, our feelings, everything that we're engaged in life. To validate the experiences that we've gone through and a way of kind of clearing out, okay, what's run its course? What do we want to really end? What do we want to wrap up? What do we want to release, essentially, as this year kind of dies away, as the sun continues her journey through Pisces. So this is also a fantastic time to check in with an astrologer like myself and have a kind of a review, you know, what's been going on for you. How do you make sense of all of that? What meaning have you created from that? And how do you now prepare to go forwards as we approach this new year at the vernal equinox? This is the perfect time just to spend that time with self and spend that time with our higher self. Not the kind of the persona self, not the ego, not our image, not how we present ourselves to the world. That's all the Aries stuff. With Pisces, it's that deeper, inner, higher self where we're connected to source. So it's a time, go into that space, either alone or with the guidance of somebody that you trust, a trusted astrologer. put some, you know, put some context around things and plan ahead. You know, what's this next cycle going to be all about? What have I got coming up and how do I best use it? So it's kind of twofold, really, Pisces season. It's about kind of, with it being a mutable sign, it's kind of the ending of the old and preparing for the new at the same time. It's all about that shifting sands of merging from the Aquarian depths of winter into the Aries first sense of spring. And so we kind of have a bit of both mixed into Pisces season. The other thing then is we had Mercury going direct, so been in retrograde for a few weeks, now direct, and as you can see and as you can probably feel and experience in your own personal world, everything's going forward. Every planet is now in a forward direction. All right, Mercury was the last one in retrograde. So we can really get that sense of, okay, things can start to happen. Things can begin to move forward right now. And there's quite a compulsion actually to do so. There's this real kind of feeling of all of the influences up there are affecting us and saying, yeah, let's do things. Let's make things happen now. That's going to be with us for quite some time. Very, very fortunately, we've got like a couple of months of this energy. It's not until April the 28th that we have a planet going retrograde. That'll be Pluto will go retrograde at the end of April. So between now and then, everything's about going forwards. Very exciting, but we must keep grounded. We must remember back to the Saturn-Jupiter conjunction, the great conjunction at the winter solstice, that combination of Saturn's caution and practicality and reserve, and Jupiter's need for expansion and growth and, you know, optimism. That Saturn-Jupiter conjunction speaks to cautious optimism. It means making, moving forward steadily and slowly. It's not about rushing ahead. We're not going to get like tons and tons and tons of Jupiter energy. Jupiter is, let's, you know, explore the whole world and open up to every possibility. Obviously, we can't really receive that from Jupiter right now. Saturn is modifying that a little bit and saying, okay, we can move forward. We just have to move forward carefully and in a strategic way. One of the words you'll often hear associated with Saturn is incremental progress. You know, Saturn achieves its goals by working diligently, in repetitions of steady, slow, gradual progress. It's sort of the hare and the tortoise kind of race situation. But we can learn a lot about grace, actually, from that way of channeling Saturnian energy. It's not all about kind of dramatic, sudden moves forward and woohoo, like big parties and big release. Saturn's just kind of like, okay, let's gracefully and carefully move forward in a quite a responsible and rational, grounded, mature way, which all sounds kind of a bit of a party pooper, but it's not, because what that does is that ensures, what Saturn does is it ensures that the growth we get from Jupiter is in the bag, right? It's not going to be squandered. It's essentially saying that we get to make that possibility endure for a much longer period of time, which is what Saturn tries to do. It tries to make things last a long time. So try not to think of it as being too much of a party pooper, but more of something that's going to allow our growth and our opportunities to be sustained in the long term. Which I'm sure we would all very much welcome. So yeah, everything moving direct. Mercury is still in the post-retrograde shadow. So yes, he's moving direct again, and that's fabulous, but still be aware that we are now moving through ground he's already covered. So anything between 11 degrees and 26 degrees of Aquarius, this is the area that he's now moving back over. So look to see what area of your chart Aquarius occupies. What planets do you have there? What angles do you have there? What's been happening in your world? And now Mercury is making his third and final kind of pass. Things we hope now fall into place, fall into the correct place. We can make progress forwards where our attention has been pulled back into something to go over it, to redo it, to refine it, to reassess something. Anything beginning with re is retrograde, essentially. So yeah, things now fall back into place. Mercury isn't out of shadow then until March the 13th. So between now and March the 13th, Mercury is really still asking for us to be quite present with our considerations, our mental focus, that part of Aquarius. And then after March the 13th, it's really, really forward moving territory. So things are still kind of a little bit subject to readjustment. And of course, in the background, our good old Uranus-Saturn square, which you should all be familiar with by now. This is the ongoing energy of 2021. It's not going to disappear. We had our first peak moment with this last week. And so it's kind of, it drifts off a little bit. But they don't separate too much between now and the second peak, which is in June the 14th. So in actual fact, it's still going to be very present with us. So this is that fight between liberation, freedom, truth, authenticity, non-conformity, change, progress, and Saturn's need to maintain things, keep things the same, restrict change and limit possibilities to break free. So this ongoing tussle, which I'm sure you've all come up with lots and lots of examples of how this is showing up in both the world at large and in your own life. So that's not really going anywhere. Second peak is in June, that I think will be very, very potent, because that will be, we've got the retrogradation going on, but also then it's a big drop off. Like the energy really does then tail off before the third dose comes back right down the road in December. And it does carry through into the following calendar year as well. So it really is very, very present. It's very much with us all year. But if there was a chunk of time when it's not quite so present, it would be sort of August, September, October, those months in between the second and the third hit of this peak. So that's kind of just setting the scene, giving the context to everything. So Monday the 22nd then, that's where we find ourselves right now. Lovely energy to start the week. We've got the moon in her home sign of Cancer, and a really nice balanced energy to start the week. We have the moon in Cancer, strong in her home sign. She is waxing, so she's gaining in strength as we move towards the full moon at the end of the week. And she's in a harmonious energy connection to the sun. So this is kind of the masculine, expressive yang aspects of ourselves with the sun, and the yin, feminine, more emotional side of the self. And when they have this trine connection, there's a lovely harmony between the two different sides of ourselves. So we can feel really quite stable. We can feel quite together, like we've got ourselves, nicely together somehow. So that's a really lovely energy to start the week. These are, you know, with the moon in Cancer, that is a cardinal sign. This is the cardinal water sign. So each element has a cardinal sign to it. That's the one that starts. Okay, that's the one that makes things happen. And so again, we've got that energy of, you know, great, let's move forward, let's make things happen, sort of stirring up in us. But at the same time, the connection to the sun there in you know, mutable Pisces is, you know, getting us ready for change. But it's not sort of like that. This isn't all about moving forward. This is more about kind of taking stock, processing, integrating, and releasing. But there's more of an increased desire to do that. And like I say, lovely connection, lovely sense of inner stability. Now, one of the big things we're coming into this week, I'll introduce it now, and it will perfect later on in the week on Thursday. There's so much to talk about on Thursday, though, that I'm going to talk you through it now. What we have building is, let me move Mercury out of the way. We have a lovely Earth trine between Pluto up there in Capricorn and Mars in Taurus. Now, poor old Mars has had a rough time of it since he ingressed Taurus. Mars isn't really super happy in Taurus. Taurus is a Venus sign, you know, it's the girls' world. Mars doesn't want it. Whoops, Mars doesn't, see, he's running away. Get me out of here. He doesn't really want to be there. So he doesn't really tend to give us the best expression of himself whilst he's in Taurus. So it's almost like he feels really held back. We had that really long Mars retrograde that went on in Aries where he felt really held back and we felt like, oh my God, I can't do anything. And then in Taurus, there's almost like a continuation of that vibration of being sort of like having your feet in thick, heavy mud, you know, this is Taurus, it's the earth. So it's kind of like really slow process of like dragging one foot out of the bog and then, you know, really slow moving forward. And he doesn't like that. He wants to be fast. He wants to be, you know, really speedy. So this building trine aspect that we have going on throughout the week, which peaks on Thursday, is really helping us to focus and feel stronger, like an increasing sense of personal power, like we're feeling our ability to do what it is that we want to do, to bring change, particularly Pluto, to act in a way that brings like a real deep transformation. It's tapping us into our core sense of power and making us feel more powerful or empowered in order to make things happen. I think after a long period of time of feeling like we really can't do that at all. So that's some really lovely energy to be moving into. It's the last aspect, the last major aspect that Mars is going to be making whilst in Taurus. Mars will then move into Gemini and things get really lively then. Things get very busy when Mars goes into Gemini. So probably this is your last week of, you know, let's say regrouping. All right, I think when Mars goes into Gemini, there's going to be a real sense of restlessness and an increasing desire to want to do lots of things, do all of the things that we need to do. Yeah, we need to really tap into this. This is some really deep, powerful energy, and with Mars in Taurus, we can really embody this. Taurus rules the physical presence, all of our senses. So we can really kind of tap into a strengthening sense of personal power and also really focus. Pluto kind of, it makes, it was once said, I can't remember who said it, it might have been Dane Rudyard, I think, possibly, don't quote me on that, said Pluto makes big things really small and small things really big, because it essentially just concentrates things, it intensifies things. So what we can have with Pluto is we can have like a laser-like precision focus, and that really just hones in on one little thing and really, really does that to death. Now, that can be, you know, less desirable if we become obsessed. Pluto can be quite obsessive, but we can use that to our benefit if we're really trying to get focused on something. And so with Mars in Taurus here, this is really making some personal transformation with regards to our own bodies. Possibly lots of people have got a little bit, you know, stuck in some bad habits with lockdown. Self-care is a Taurus thing, might have kind of gone out of the window, that kind of thing. So this is wonderful energy to tap into, to really make us feel motivated and inspired, and to focus our determination on those kinds of goals. So it's wonderful. Increase in personal power, increase in motivation, determination, and focus, and the desire. Mars is all about what I want. You know, what do I want in terms of bringing about a deep transformation? Pluto in an earth sign really brings very tangible physical transformations that we can see and touch and feel in the world around us. And so we've only got until 2023 and a bit with Pluto left in an earth sign. Pluto ingresses Aquarius for a little bit of 2023, then comes back out and then ingresses properly in 2024. So we've not got long to finish up the work that Pluto has been doing in Capricorn, which has been busily going on behind the scenes, making powerful waves since 2008. A long, long time, slow progress. And that will be the same in Aquarius and Pisces and Aries. We're not going to have Pluto in an earth sign again for a very, very, very long time. So if we're trying to bring about real, tangible, practical, material transformation, this is the week to really tap into that and say, okay, what am I going to do about this? Mars is me, Mars is I. You know, what's my part in this going to be? And again, that will take us back to going into this Piscean month of taking stock, meditating, contemplating on the experiences that we've moved through in the last year, and how that's going to inform our way forward. Okay, moving then into Tuesday. Now, Tuesday is the day that's ruled by Mars. So another great day to tap into this energy. And Mars at this point arrives at, let me take off the Sun-Moon trine because that's not really relevant anymore. Mars arrives on Tuesday at the 25th degree of Taurus. Now, this is the same degree that Pluto is at in Capricorn. So this is when that trine really, really starts to be felt, okay? Especially if you've got any planets in any of the earth signs, you know, around this, you're going to really feel it in a really nice way, in a really helpful, supportive way. So 25 degrees of Taurus, that's where that's happening. And the moon, as she's moving through Cancer, now she's moved on from that harmonious connection to the sun. She's actually now going to create a lovely, similar harmonious trine aspect to Neptune, home sign of Pisces. This is gorgeous because we've got both of these energies in their own home sign. Moon rules Cancer, Neptune rules Pisces. So they're both really, really strong. This is really going to encourage us to bring our imagination, our fantasy world into the ideas of what it is that we're trying to bring about with this Mars Pluto trine as we work through the week with it. This is really saying, let's get creative about it. Let's get really imaginative. And it's fantastic energy for any kind of creative, imaginative, fantasy kind of work. Music, especially, will really do this. So bringing imagination into your process, getting creative, especially with the body. This is going to be the perfect opportunity to combine these Mars-Pluto energies with and how they're affecting our physical body. And then bringing into it our intuition and our imagination and our creativity. So, and I think this is really important because we've had so much air energy going along, which has had us very much in our heads for a long time. All of this Aquarius stellium that we've had going on has really kept us up here. We need to get back into our bodies to make real lasting change. So, couple of ideas of how you might like to use this energy or combine these energies on Tuesday would be to do something creative with your body that is an expression of a deep and lasting transformation. So a practice that I've recently started is chakra dance. There's variations on a theme with that, but just moving the body in ways that can enable a transformation, a deep inner transformation, which is what Pluto's all about, through creatively moving the body. So any kind of like ecstatic dance, biorhythms, all of that kind of thing. Self-massage, or just learning how to connect with your body and connect with all of your senses in a really creative way. And another thing that I came up with at this point as well was that it would be a wonderful day to imagine up or create or draw a really meaningful tattoo. Like if you've been thinking about having a tattoo for a while, this would be a really nice day to kind of possibly a really nice day to come up with the ideas of how you'd like to, Mars in Taurus is all about kind of piercing the body. Mars is sharp instruments. So it might be a time when you kind of want to mark yourself creatively, beautifully, just to remind you of any deep transformation that you have been through or that you feel you're in the process of doing, or just something that reminds you to stay on track with your own inner work, your own personal development. I think this would be a really lovely day to come up with a design around that potentially. And later on in the week as well, actually, when Venus moves into Pisces, it would be too. So just some ideas. Then overnight on Tuesday, the 23rd, the moon is, what's happening with the moon? Let me see. She's going to move into, as she continues the journey through Cancer, what we're going to have there is an opposition to Pluto. So as we're moving through Tuesday, we might also feel this building up within us. This can sort of suggest quite intense, powerful emotions. Emotions are moon, intensity is Pluto, and changing emotions as well, like the kind of push me, pull me kind of situation that we get, like full on, full off. Quite often get that with a Pluto moon opposition. So yeah, just try and keep grounded with that, but essentially use it as an opportunity to really take you in deep into, getting a really good feeling and sense of what really does now need to change. The moon's really tapping us into things as we move towards this full moon. She's really trying to highlight things, bring things to our attention. So she is going to be drawing us down into our depths. And where it's happening overnight, we might have some quite creative and interesting dreams. So as we wake up following morning, Wednesday, the 24th, we're still going to have that kind of hangover of moon opposite Pluto with us. So it would be a good night, the Tuesday night, to go to bed with a pen and paper by your bed, just to scribble down any dreams that you might have. because this is really helping us to go into our the hidden areas of ourselves and shine a light in there. And also messages from our ancestors. You know, Cancer rules our lineage. So past all of our history, our family line. So we might get some interesting information surfacing. That's what Pluto does. It purges things up to the surface, kind of whether we like it or not. It exposes things. So take note of your dreams. And if you have any interesting dreams, do get in contact with me. I have a good friend who is a dream interpreter, and I'm sure she will be more than happy to help you bring some meaning out of that exploration. So yeah, moving into Wednesday the 24th, then we've got that kind of hangover. So that could be really interesting. But then later on, I mean, it soon dissipates with the moon. Moon then ingresses into Leo. So with Leo, she's got a bit of a choppy journey. She's initially going to, because it's a fixed sign, it's squaring fixed sign Taurus. So this is initially going to tap into a square to Uranus. So again, this is all about, I've got to make a change. I've got to have freedom from the old way of doing things. I have to make some progress. Like, I can't tolerate the same old anymore. It's really going to be bringing that feeling quite profoundly. And then she's really kind of building as we move through the day. Essentially, she's going to be creating a T-square between, with Uranus and Saturn squaring already there. This is called a T-square, where we have an opposition aspect and these two squares. So these three planets are going to be very powerfully talking with each other in a way that's quite irritating. Yeah, it's just irritating. So watch out for a few emotional kind of fireworks on Wednesday, or a feeling of a lot of frustration. I think that's really what we're going to be feeling. Moon opposite Saturn can be quite sort of, it can lower our mood quite a bit. It can make, you know, moon is our emotions, and so it can make us feel like things are heavy and oppressive, and really tap us into all of the limitations and inhibitions that we are experiencing, alongside this real potent desire to make those things change. So it can flush up to the surface, you know, how much ability, how much within our control is it to make that change? And again, try and come back to the Mars-Pluto stuff. Try and really focus in, hone in with precision, laser-like precision on what is the specific change that you can make that is within your control at this time. And just absolutely set your sights on that, and don't get distracted by all this other stuff that's going to be going on, if you can help it. It's going, that T-square perfects overnight here in the UK. So, you know, it might not be the most restful sleep. Uranus is very, very stimulating. It's like Mercury on steroids. So with this connection to a moon, as we're moving very closely to a powerful full moon, you know, it could disrupt sleep. So try and get very, very calm and grounded before bed if you can, or just take account of the fact that, you know, it's not a good idea anyway, but especially avoid the stimulants, avoid the spicy foods and the caffeine and the, you know, the blue light from devices and all of that stuff, because you're going to feel a little bit potentially more pent up. Thursday. Big day, big exciting day, Thursday, lots and lots going on. So earlier at the beginning of this week, on Mondays, day that I covered. I talked to you about the Mars-Pluto trine, and that actually perfects today. So it's very, very present. It's very powerful energy, this real kind of idea of personal empowerment and what change that I can make, and feeling an increasing sense of motivation to achieve those goals. We will have, so this is Jupiter's day, and Jupiter is going to be really, really important today. We've got the moon as she's continuing her journey through Leo. So she's going to be in opposition, sort of one by one, with all of the planets in the stellium in Aquarius there. So she's going to be opposite Mercury around 10 a.m. and then Jupiter kind of shortly afterwards, if I arrange these sort of like that. So Mercury retrograde is kind of working its way back towards Jupiter. So in quick succession, these guys are going to be in opposition to the moon. Now, the moon at this time is also sextile the north node, her own north node. This is the lunar north node of destiny. All right, so this is really interesting and quite important as well. And Jupiter is trining the north node of destiny. So we have this really interesting connection between all of these energies. I've given a lot of thought to this, but it does seem like a particularly fated moment in time. Particularly as Mercury is now in that post-retrograde shadow of, okay, we've gone back over things, we've had another look at things, particularly Jupiter related to things, and now we're kind of moving forwards with a little bit more information that we didn't have first time around, or a little bit more clarity or precision or exactness. Now, if we just took Moon opposite Mercury in isolation, this talks about kind of that imbalance between where we feel like we're pulled in two directions, between what our heart wants and what our head wants. So there can be this kind of like, I've really got to try and find a balance in the middle ground. But it's kind of with everything else that's going on, there's a lot more to it than that. So we can feel quite restless and scattered. Our emotions, especially in a fire sign, you know, Moon in Leo likes a bit of drama. It has to be said. Doesn't do emotions, doesn't express emotions quietly and calmly, especially not when she's nearly full. You know, she's going to be full in the next sign along. So quite dramatic. And then Mercury in Aquarius is really kind of got us in our heads and really stimulating lots of thinking. So quite scattered, quite restless. There can be quite a compulsive draw with the north node of the moon, the north lunar node. There can be quite a compulsive draw towards something, almost like you can't get enough of it. It's often, we often talk about the lunar north node as being taking us out of our comfort zone, but equally so when we consider more of the Eastern interpretations of the lunar nodes. The north node is Rahu, the dragon's head. So the dragon has been chopped in half, which essentially means that it's a head and a mouth that's kind of eating, consuming, you know, and it's not filling up because it's got the back end of its body is missing. So there's never any, it's not able to completely sate the appetite. So it's just this kind of relentless, compulsive desire for more and more and more of something. So that's really, really interesting, just to feature in the background of what's going on here, a compulsion towards our future and where we're going in almost a way that has kind of taken over us. It's time to really come back into, with the Mars Pluto trine. Sorry, hold on just 1 second, because I've got an alarm going off. Apologies, just had an alarm going off. So yeah, it's really important to become self-aware of those compulsive desires and really engage with the process of, am I just getting carried away with something that's taken over me? Or is this something that I really, really do want? Okay, because we can all get swept along with something like that. So just try and consider that aspect to it. But it does feel like quite a fated moment in time, and you may have experiences on that day which do seem kind of quite spooky, that kind of thing. It's really about trying to get us to access our inner wisdom. With Mercury retrograde alongside Jupiter, with the Sun in Pisces, Jupiter's sign, asking us to come up with a review of the previous year and our meaning around that going on in the background as well. This really is asking us to explore our inner wisdom, or to access. How do we access our inner wisdom? Jupiter is the guru, the mentor, the wise person, the sage. We all have that within us. We don't need, it's kind of like the Life of Brian sketch. You don't need anyone to follow. Just, understand yourself, become wise to your own self, and especially becoming wise to your own patterns, Mercury patterns, thinking patterns, and ideas. Part of that is learning what is intuition and what isn't intuition. And I think that's really easily confused. And I have to say, I have to catch myself and question myself, apply some critical thinking quite regularly when I think, I really, intuitively know this thing. And I have to question, is that really your intuition? Or is it just kind of confirmation bias? And there's been a lot of confirmation bias around this year, which is kind of where our brains just are automatically programmed to seek out and attach to evidence, Mercury, that supports an underlying belief, Jupiter. So you're more likely to see the newspaper stories, or overhear conversations in the street, or align with mentally and through communication things that confirm and support an underlying belief that you have. So we have to be really, really careful that we don't confuse that with intuition. It's like, oh, I just know. Well, no, our egos can feel a bit of a boost when we find some supporting evidence that kind of proves us right. But there's support, I think we've all established this year, there's supporting evidence for everything. There's supporting evidence we've never landed on the moon and that the Earth's flat. And just go on YouTube for half an hour. You can find evidence for anything, essentially. And so we have to be wise to ourselves. We have to be wise to our own brains and the way that we think about things and what's behind that. Now, Jupiter's about judgment. Judgment gets a bad rap. Like, people are often accused of being judgmental, but kind of good, because we have to judge. We have to have good judgment. It's a real helpful skill for human beings to have on their process through life. Being able to assess whether something is healthy and right and supportive or not is something that we actually really need. So don't always think of judgment as being really wrong. And in fact, Jupiter, the god, was in charge of this process. He was the one who made the final ultimate judgment call decision on giving out legal, making legal decisions on things, on the law. And yeah, you need someone with good judgment to do that. That's wisdom. That's part of wisdom. And this is really going to be tapping us into that. We have to understand what our own prejudice is. Now, that's a type of judgment, but that's saying, I've judged something before, I've prejudged something. And so I'm not entering into that field with a completely open mind. I've got a bias. And so I'm going to be looking, I'm going to try and cherry pick out all of the bits that support my prejudgment. And that's not being open-minded. It's also not being intuitive either. So it's a really good opportunity, I think, and I think that humanity could really, really use this at this time, is just spending some time thinking about intuition. What is intuitive? What isn't intuitive? What's your own connection to your own inner guide or sage or wisdom? And how much do you trust them? You know, how much, you know, I would like to think we would spend a bit of time considering whether we were to follow as a disciple a leader of some kind. We'd want to look at their history, you know, have they made good decisions in the past, this kind of thing. We'd want to know a lot about them. And so we need to have that same approach to ourselves as well. You know, is our guidance, is our judgment, you know, something that we can really trust? And is it impartial? Does it open up opportunities for us? Or does it just pull us into alignment with things that we've already kind of decided upon somewhere along the lines? And if it is, then what are those prejudices? Where did those prejudices come from? What's the origin? Is that something you consciously decided upon, that prejudgment? Or is that something that's been put there through conditioning, through societal conditioning, Saturn and Aquarius, through the conditioning of the community that we live in? So it's a really, really, really great time to pick these things apart. Mercury likes to do that. And as we go, I think it'd be really important as we go through the post-shadow period. So have our beliefs become an unconscious habit, essentially, with the moon ruling also habits that we can get into. This is a really good time to see if have our beliefs and the way that we apply confirmation bias to them, have those beliefs come just from a place of habit? And like, I've always thought that way, so I'll just carry on thinking that way, kind of thing. You know, is it just an ingrained pattern that is mastering us rather than the other way around? Great day to consider all that stuff. Also on Thursday, as if that wasn't enough, we have Venus. A very happy little lady, as am I, because my sun is at 0 degrees Pisces. So Venus moves into Pisces. She arrives at 0 degrees Pisces on Thursday, and she's very happy. She is exalted in Pisces. She gives her best expressions when she is in the sign of Pisces. Creativity increases, a desire to be more in the flow of life increases. So allowing our imagination, allowing our connection to pleasure, particularly, is just something that we can go with the flow with. It's also less energy now in Aquarius, so that's kind of reducing that very mental, airy stuff that's been going on there as well. So it's twofold when a planet ingresses. If you've got any planets or angles in Pisces, you're likely to feel that ingress just a little bit more than other people, because when a planet ingresses into a sign, it kind of tips off anything that's within that sign later along that you're about to get a dose of that planet. So if you've got, I don't know, say your sun is at 23 degrees of Pisces, yes, it might be 23 degrees away from where Venus is when she ingresses, which is a big chunk, but your sun will still feel it, because your sun recognizes Venus and recognizes that it's going to start making the connections of doing the work they're going to do when Venus actually, you know, arrives at the sun. And that's something else that I need to talk about as well. So yeah, so if you've got planets, angles in Pisces, you're really going to feel Venus. And that's a lovely thing to feel, let's face it, especially in Pisces. It's love, it's beauty, it's harmony, it's peace and balance, and it's money. it's connection, it's resources. You know, it's our resources of life, the things that we need in order to sustain us. So see where Pisces is in your chart, and you've got a good few weeks now of Venus bringing her sweetness to that area of your life. You'll be pleased to know. Now, talking of Venus and the Sun, Venus is in a really interesting part of her cycle right now. So, you know, all of the planets have an important cycle with the Sun, as the moon does. Okay, so we're talking a lot about the moon's cycle, and that's the cycle of the moon in relation to the Sun. And it's the same with all of the other planets. They have a cycle in relation to the Sun, a synodic cycle. So Venus at this particular point in time, she's moving into this really important deep transitional phase in her cycle. The cycle that she's currently in with the Sun started actually in the sign of Gemini. If you think back to last year, we had a Venus retrograde in the sign of Gemini. That was where the old cycle was ending and the new one was beginning. And when Venus came out of the other side of that process, she is in her morning star form. So basically you can see her early in the morning sky before the sun wakes up. That's the fresh, new, excited, you know, really ambitious Venus who's, you know, she's really keen to get out there in the world and have pleasure. What's happening now is she's kind of gone to the halfway point of that cycle. So essentially, she's coming up to meet up with the sun. So at this point in time, we can't actually see Venus in the sky anymore. She's so close to the sun that she, as a star with the naked eye, the sun's glare kind of blocks it out. And this was, for ancient people, quite a profound moment, because their connection to astrology literally came through that very visible connection to the astronomy, actually being able to see the stars. So when Venus kind of disappeared from the sky, you know, it was quite an ominous situation to them. And in fact, when she comes out the other side, essentially she's born as the evening star. So she appears in the evening sky rather than the morning sky. And so some ancient civilizations almost kind of believed that it was two different stars or two different kind of personalities of Venus. So she's going through that process at the moment of ending her time as the morning star, the sweet, innocent kind of the princess kind of version of Venus. And when she comes out the other side, it's almost like she's having her full, the superior conjunction of the sun. So basically, sorry if I'm going off on a tangent, but this is really important to know. When she met up with the sun in Gemini, that was called the interior or inferior conjunction. That starts the cycle. She's meeting up with the sun again in the not too distant future, but it's in a different way. She's further away from the Earth. So that's called the exterior or superior conjunction. That's kind of like her full moon. So just think of that as she's slowly moving into a very prolonged full moon period. So we get a lot of her wisdom during that period of time. All right, even though she's missing from the sky, we're really going inwards and going, okay, what have we learned about love since that the beginning of that cycle last summer? What have we learned about love? What have we learned about beauty? What have we learned, most importantly, about our values? You know, Venus is all about the core values. So you can think about this either as an individual or as part of the collective, or both. And I like to think of the perfect expression of Venus coming into Pisces for me is when you see these murmurations, as they're called, where you get these huge flocks of starlings, I think other birds do it, moving as one in the sky in this most beautiful flowing dance, which is a very Venusian thing. But the Pisces is that they're all moving together. There's all these individual birds, but they're all collectively united by this flowing love and beauty that's kind of harmonizing their movement. And I think we can learn a lot just from witnessing something like that in the natural world. So yeah, giving consideration to what our values are. Venus is going to do some really important stuff towards the end of the year. I'll talk to you about that then. But it's a really great time just to give consideration to those areas of life. So the superior conjunction then, that the peak of her full moon kind of phase is March the 26th, okay? And that will be at 6 degrees of Aries. So she's missing from the sky this whole time. All of her journey through Pisces, she won't be visible in the sky as she's going through this process of understanding on a deep level, what have I learned about love and worth, you know, since last summer. She then kind of is rebirthed as the evening star, this wiser, more mature, more queen-like version, rather than the princess of the morning star. And again, she'll be very, very close to the sun, so we won't see her. In fact, we won't see her until she's in her home sign, which is lovely, of Taurus. So around about the 20th degree of Taurus is when Venus will come back to our evening skies. We'll be able to see her and connect with her again. That's in May, early on, sort of early to mid part of May. And it's beautiful that that's going to be taking place in Taurus, where we're doing our work, our deep transformation work, don't forget, with Mars and Pluto, to see how it all works together. This is why I do my forecast the way I do them, because all of the energies, all of these cycles are working with each other. And I like to follow that process of how they kind of feed in and inform each other. So she'll be coming visible again in her home sign around about the part of the sky where this week we're working on with the Mars Pluto trine. So I think that's about all I wanted to talk about on Thursday. Yes, Thursday's finished. Have an amazing day. Friday then, Friday we have the moon finishing in Leo. Okay, so she is, she's a bit deeper into Leo now, fixed sign Leo, and that means that she's going to square now, having moved on from Uranus, she's now going to square Mars. So a bit of a rush towards kind of impulsive behaviors. Great opportunity to spot those things where your emotions have taken control of the steering wheel of your life. It's a good time to recognize those. Again, remember, moon in Leo likes a bit of drama. So, you know, try and have some fun. Just moon in Leo, the best way to challenge it really essentially is just to be a big kid and not take yourself too seriously. So if you start to see yourself getting caught up in like dramatic, impulsive, rash, angry, heated kind of situations, then just see if you can find the funny side of it. See if you can have a laugh at yourself. See if you can just, you know, do the old, will I care about this in 10 years time kind of thing. And if not, then just have a laugh at yourself really, if you can, because it's a good way to channel Leo energies, have fun with something. She's also going to be, as she sort of carries that energy forward into Virgo, this is really getting into full moon energy now, because this is the sign that she will be full in. But she's then going to oppose Venus. And we're going to feel this in a big way, because she's really, really big now. Very, very waxing gibbous, almost full. So we've got some of that sort of Mars stimulation going on, but also the moon opposite Venus is kind of almost like a deep longing for connection, for love, for pleasure. So that's going to be quite intense. I anticipate that, you know, off the back of that square, and as in the phase of the moon that she is. So just prepare yourselves for that, because the two might work alongside each other to make you do something that you might regret, essentially. So an impulsive decision or behavior to sort of go to desperate lengths to feel connected, to feel some pleasure, to feel some love, you know. And I know everyone's thirsting for that anyway. You know, certainly in the UK, where we've been in lockdown for so long, everyone is really thirsting for that. But it's energy that moves away quite quickly. So just make sure that you're aware of that, that's going on, essentially. An increase in desire for connection, pleasure, and romance. The Jupiter in trine to the North Node, I'm going to leave that one there. Jupiter trining the North Node that's been building in the background also is going to go perfect at 11 p.m. This day. And that again is that I talked about earlier in the week, that insatiable appetite. Like, I must have. Jupiter is, it'll be okay, right? Jupiter rules Sagittarius, and so you just can't keep Sagittarius down, because they're like, I'll be fine, it'll be okay, let's just go with it. You know, they just think the best is always going to happen, or that there's something better around the corner. Like, the future is always bright. So Jupiter's kind of optimism and, you know, looking on the bright side is a gorgeous thing, no doubt about it. We all need that. But sometimes you can get a little bit, you know, carried away. So just watch out for that and the backdrop of everything else, that we might just think, oh, sod it, it'll be all right if I just do this kind of thing. So yeah, again, that's going to go back to earlier in the week, and understanding, you know, understanding yourself, and whether you are the wise sage that you would choose to follow. And if you're not, then here's a call to do a piece of work on yourself to you know, make yourself a better guide, a better wise person, a better guru. Yeah, so just watch out for all of that on Friday. Don't want to be a party pooper though, so, you know, do enjoy the Jupiter sort of expression, and do be prepared for this you know, this longing, essentially, and try and see that if you can create a way of bringing with the moon in an earth sign, there's a greater potential for manifesting something into reality. So using the imagination and the heart, you know, Venus in Pisces is very much our creative abilities, our imagination, using those to inform what it is that you're trying to bring more of into your life. A little bit further down the road, when it's a little bit more sensible to do that, and when you're back in the driving seat, rather than just your emotions and the influence of the planets kind of taking over control from you. So then we move into Saturday the 27th, and of course this is the peak moment of our week. This is where we have the full moon. So full moon is an opposition of moon and sun. So the full moon then is taking place at 8:17 a.m. in the UK. So we'll really feel it building throughout the previous day and over the evening, and it's really present from the moment we wake up. It's taking place at 8 degrees of Virgo. So find which area of your chart Virgo rules. And this is the area of your life where things are really coming to a head. Things are coming to a culmination point. And that can be a really good thing, and it can be a not so great thing, but it's always really, really helpful information. All right, so this is your feedback session. This is your monthly one-to-one with Source that says, okay, this is how far you've got on your journey since the Virgo new moon in this area of your life. So it's going to highlight whatever's going on there. It can be the results of work that you've been doing. can really come to a fruition point so that you can enjoy the fruits of your labors. And also it can be really sort of making you very aware of where you haven't worked with it and where you really do now need to kind of buckle down and make some things happen in that area of your life. Just in general, Virgo rules our health, but also it's going back to patterns again, like I was discussing earlier in the week, how do we arrange our movement through the day? How do we organize and structure, you know, what time I get up in the morning and what do I have for breakfast and when do I do my yoga, and, you know, what's my approach to my work, and the people that I work with, those kinds of things. So it's really drawing our attention to where habits that we've got into are good or not so good, or essentially where they just need to be part of this change that we're making, all right, that we've been really honing into throughout the week with the Mars-Pluto trine. So really, really important, important energy. One of the things that's most exciting about this full moon being in an earth sign, we have a trine going on to Uranus. Uranus wants those breakthroughs. She wants change, progress, freedom. She wants to break out of the chains of anything that's holding us in the past. So this is a really, really important connection at this full moon. It's the most potent kind of planetary expression within this full moon. So it's a really, really big part of it is this desire to break free of something stale and old. Now, the important thing about Uranus is that in its highest expression, it's about higher consciousness and awareness. Okay, so this is really facilitating us becoming aware of the habits that we've fallen into, the way that our day has been structured, how we show up at work, how we take care of our bodies and the health routines that we have or don't have. So those things could be sort of really finding us in quite a sudden way with Uranus, like a flash of inspiration. Yeah, I'm gonna do this now. Especially with that backdrop of the Mars-Pluto trine as well. It's really been focusing our energy on the changes that we want to make. So the support of Uranus to increase our freedom and our movement into who we authentically are, away from the limitations and the confines of old patterns, of old ways of doing things, of just the tired old humdrum repetitions of life. It's wanting to breathe some fresh, clean air in and just wake things up, oxygenate things. So that's beautiful. And Virgo, you know, as I mentioned, all about patterns and habits and order. So it might be a time to really establish a new kind of way of doing this, new order of doing things that's more supportive of your health, and more supportive of your truth, you know, what's true for you, and exploring what works for you in terms of your health as an individual, not just kind of following along with, you know, this diet or that type of yoga, or, you know, it's important to get this number of hours sleep or get up at this time of day or anything. It's like, you've got to work you out what works best for you and not be kind of following the crowd on everything. And again, that comes back to this inner guide, the inner wisdom, the inner sage. So there's a couple of questions that I think would be really helpful to ask yourself at the full moon on Saturday. The first is, how do I progress through my day? Uranus wants progression. Bring into your real consciousness, just work through it and go, you know, is that the best use of my time? Is that a way that supports me, supports my health? Does that allow me to give to others? Virgo is about service to others, as is Pisces energy is about self-sacrifice as well. So do my habits, does the way that I move through my day support me having a full cup to give from? Or am I just draining out my cup every day and sort of going around this, you know, this tiring, exhausting, depleting cycle? So that's the kind of thing to be thinking about there. And the second question is, does this come from consciousness, conscious awareness, or is it just a habit? All right, try and recognize where we might have just got stuck in a rut, stuck in a habit, and then decide, right, okay, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to actually mindfully and consciously decide how I'm going to do my day-to-day activities and really engage, you know, with those activities, you know, be present with them in your body, Taurus. Combine the higher consciousness with the physical presence, can be a really healthy thing to do. It's kind of like a hypnotic state. You know, our brain waves get into a certain pattern, and that can be really, really conducive to having a high vibration and having high levels of health. So a couple of questions there that might help you. Sunday then, Sunday the 28th. This is just absolutely gorgeous. What a wonderful way to end a wonderful week, essentially, because as the moon continues her journey through Virgo, that connection that she has, the trine aspect that she has to Uranus and building into Pluto, is now going to connect up, as you'll see, bringing us kind of full circle through the week in a grand Earth trine. So the grand trine is when 3 trine aspects come together. So it's the easiest flow of energy that you can have. So these guys, because they're all in the same element of Earth, they're talking to each other. It's just flowing. It's all just happening. You don't need to kind of put any effort into it at all. And this brings us back to just as the moon is, you know, still kind of just moving through the full moon phase, but starting to dissipate. This is tapping us into that Mars-Pluto work that we started at the beginning of the week, and really saying, okay, right, we're going to move forward in terms of making this informed change, this personal change, in a real practical, tangible way with the earth signs. So that grand trine on Sunday is just absolutely lovely. It's going to bring us back down to earth a bit as well. Because, you know, with the air stuff and when the moon was moving through fire, things could get a bit more kind of like, you know, up there. And this energy brings us back down to earth, back into our bodies, and just says, yeah, there's like a real calm, solid determination that I'm going to win, essentially. I'm going to nail this kind of thing. It's gorgeous energy. So please do enjoy that. And I hope, if you have enjoyed this video, I hope it's been of use to you. If it has, please do like, love, comment, share. Something weird is going on with my YouTube in that I get notifications that people have left comments and then they don't actually show up under the video. So I'm not really sure what's going on there, but please, if you've left a comment, please don't think that I haven't seen it. I get to see them, but for some reason I can't reply to them and they're not showing up under the video. So you can always leave comments on my Instagram or my Facebook is probably the easiest way to get hold of me. Yeah, so have a gorgeous week. And if you want to get in touch, as I say, Sun in Pisces is a really great time just to do some deep inner work. Get in touch if you'd like to book a reading, and let's start to sort of make sense of the past year and get you ready for the vernal equinox when the new natural wheel of the year starts again and we begin a new year. Until then, until next Monday, even when I'm back, have a beautiful week and I'll see you then. Thanks so much for watching. Take care. Bye.